This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hello! Welcome to this week's episode, the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. My name is Tyler Ron, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill, New York City, both laughing at me already. Hi, guys. How are you?
I think you made Ben legitimately giggle with the way the heights you reach. Hello.
I was so excited. Hello.
It seemed like you were just about to crash and then you recovered. And well, you're a professional and we'd expect nothing less. So.
Well,
that's why he stifled it, because of your professionalism.
Yes.
In my defense, we just had the most adorable interview in the history of the Show Before the Show podcast. For the first time, we had a baby on the Show Before the Show podcast.
No, you're on this show every week, Tom.
Oh,
sorry. I don't mean that at all.
That was a soft toss. Man, that was, I'm honestly, I'm not even going to be upset about that joke. That was very well executed.
I really did not. It was, which one of you was I going to go for? And I was just staring at your face. I'm so sorry. I don't mean that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he did name his clothing line, maternity wear.
Maternity leave. That's what I take every week. Maternity leave.
All right. Needs work. I'll bring that one back to the shop. Get back to you guys.
That was pretty good. It was pretty good, Sam. I must say, and deserved. You know, after the couple of weeks that we have had at Sam Dykstra's expense.
Can I just say, by the way, I had my mother call me and be like, "Was that true?" I didn't even tell Ben this. I've been back from Florida for a few days now. My mother called me and was just like, "So I listened to the show. Is there anything you're not telling me?" And I was like, "Is there anything you're not telling me about not finishing the episode?"
She just like got to that part, cut it off. I was like, I need to have a conversation with my son.
I was just like, what is going on?
Is he not doing okay? Is there something I should be aware of with my son's financial situation? You know, Mrs. Dykstra, you can pull in a lot of extra scratch working as a dime store Mickey Mouse in Times Square.
And look, I'm not looking down on the people who do that. I'm sure it's an honest living, and it is what it is, but it's just not one, and I can't stress this enough again, not one that I have partaken in the past or the present.
You haven't proven anything. I'll just point that out.
Yeah. Also didn't rule out the future.
Exactly.
I don't want to rule out anything in the future, given the way this show is already going.
Well, we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. We do have the most adorable interview in the history of this show coming up here in just a little bit, as we're going to visit the Portland Sea Dogs, and we got a great story from Portland coming up. And thanks for tuning in wherever you found us. You can, of course, get in touch. Podcast at MILB.com and let us know your thoughts. Spring Breakout obviously has wrapped up. We've got top prospects fighting for positions on major league rosters. The major league regular season technically is underway, as we had game one of the regular season this morning with the Los Angeles Dodgers rallying to take down the San Diego Padres in Seoul, South Korea. So we're already into baseball season, as crazy as that is. And from the minor league side, we've got some very cool stuff to get to talk about on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, which is some of the newest identities to join the Copa de la Diversión program in 2024. 98 teams now participating in Copa here for this 2024 season. Over 80% of all minor league baseball teams, 5 first-time teams, and 3 rebrands who will have a new identity for Copa in 2024. Let's turn it over to Benjamin Hill to tell us. First, Ben, we hear pretty regularly from fans who are getting into minor league baseball, came across the podcast, are kind of learning about everything for the first time. Let's explain Copa, and then let's talk about these new identities.
Yeah, Copa de la Diversión started. We're entering the 7th season of Copa. it translates to Fun Cup. And I think technically there are some metrics used, not just on win-loss records, but regardless, there is I think an award at the end of the year for the Copa winner, but it's not a competitive thing. It is at its core a program in which minor league teams engage with and celebrate their region's Hispanic fan base. So it's both, an outreach program, so to speak, to reach out to the Hispanic community, and also a way to educate all fans about aspects, of Hispanic culture throughout, their region and the country at large. And so, as Tyler said, 98 teams, that's a lot of Copa identities. Teams play as their Copa identities several times throughout the year. And, usually make that not just an on-field thing, but music, food, cultural displays. It just turns the ballpark itself into a celebration of a fan base that might not be as well represented at the ballpark on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, so now we're up to over 80% of the industry doing Copa. I wrote an article this week just highlighting the new teams, as Tyler mentioned. Eight new Copa teams this year. 5 are teams that are entering the program for the first time that had never done it before. 3 more had been in Copa in the past and then completely rebranded. And then we're not even getting into all the teams that kept the same Copa name, but then did some sort of refresh to the identity with the logos and the jerseys to make it fresh for 2024. So that's a whole nother category. So a lot of changes going on. But the new teams entering the landscape, Altoona, the Altoona Curve, where Tyler used to work. And here's where my Spanish is still so poor, but they are the Goldfish, the Peces Dorados. Is that how we say it?
I think you nailed it.
The Buffalo Bisons, who are Luces de Buffalo, and that's the light.
Luces.
See, thank you, Sam.
Yeah,
Luces de Buffalo, and that's light. The Duraznos de Roma, the Rome Emperors, who themselves completely rebranded from the Braves to the Emperors earlier this offseason, are the Duraznos de Roma, and that's a peach. A Georgia peach. The Cafecitos de Spokane, that's coffee, obviously. I think cafecito technically translates to like little coffee. But
which I did like their explanation. They said that it could be the term for little coffee, but it could also be a term for like a meeting that you have over coffee with a friend.
Yeah, coffee talk.
Yeah, a little coffee talk.
And the Wilmington Blue Rocks, with the direct translation, Rocas Azules de Wilmington, with a logo that is, of course, Mr. Celery, and he has a sombrero and is wearing a blanket, a Mexican-style blanket wrapped around him as well. Then we have rebrands. The Medessa, or Midland, had previously been the Matamoscas de Medessa, and that was like a fly swatter identity, I think kind of playing off of the success that San Antonio had with Flying Chanclas. But they went a different direction. It's based around Rocky, their dog mascot. They are the Midland Amigos. Amigos as in friend, as in dogs are a person's best friend, etc. Similarly, the Peoria Chiefs, who had been Peoria in El Rio, meaning I think that was like the wind of Peoria.
The river.
The river. Yeah, Rio. Yeah.
Rio.
Yeah. Again, what would I do without Sam? They are the Perros Bomberos de Peoria, and that is like a fire dog. And their mascot is Homer, a Dalmatian, a fire dog. And the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, who had been the Temblores de Rancho Cucamonga, which I believe is just a translation of Quakes, they are the Chaquetas, jackets. And that is a reference to the fact that, Joe Kelly, when he was a Dodgers pitcher, Joe Kelly, there was a mariachi band doing the national anthem before the game at Dodger Stadium. Joe Kelly traded in the bullpen his jersey for a mariachi jacket, and then later wore that jacket to the White House in a celebratory visit after they won the World Series in 2020. So that Chaqueta's identity is based around that, and the team says, quote unquote, it is an example of the cross-cultural impact of community music and baseball. So that's a brief overview. There's obviously some larger backstories here. Those are just 8 of 98 teams, doing Copa this season. Do you guys have anything that really jumps out at you and with among this new Copa identities, logo-wise, team name, whatever?
I mean, I really like the Cafecitos. I think that's something I'm a little surprised it's taken this long for Cafecitos to be a Copa identity. I think about it. It's funny that it's Spokane, because when I think of Cafecito, I think of Miami. You go down to Little Havana and a lot of people who visit as tourists in Miami think like, I could go for a coffee right now, and somebody brings it out and it's this little thing, and you think, oh, well, I normally drink 2 coffees in a day. I'm going to need more than this small coffee. And Cafecito packs such a punch that people are in for a rude awakening when they take those. So I think this is perfectly a perfect use of this. It's, something we talked about for a long time. Copa, you can go many different directions. You can go the food route, which is what Spokane has done here. So I really enjoyed that one. I mean, I really like the amigos, like you said, and how that ties into man's best friend. It's amigo is a name that a lot of English speakers know, obviously, and might use in their own life. But Midland, the Midland Rockhounds, what stands out about their logo is the big dog that they use. So let's lean into that. It's a sugar skull. It's very colorful in a way that Midland isn't. It's a different color scheme. It's got blue. It's got light blue. It's got a little bit of a, pinkish red, I would say. So I like that they're leaning into different elements there. Ben, you and I have talked about Lucis de Buffalo and how that's something that I didn't really know about Buffalo being called, like a city of light in that way. And that goes back to the 1901 Pan American Exposition or the World's Fair. It's not something I would have thought about. And this is another opportunity to educate people about their own cities, or those of us who take a national view, to know a little bit more about your region and what is important to you. So I'm excited about those teams in particular, really taking advantage of this Copa opportunity. Tyler, anything stand out to you? I mean, you're the logo guy here. So,
I mean, Buffalo, I love, and I agree. I had no idea about Buffalo's nickname, known as the City of Light, back in the early 1900s. The Cafecitos is great, and it reminds me of one of Josh Jackson's and my favorite old-timey baseball identities, which is the Cafeteros, which was a Mexican League identity back in the middle of the 20th century, out of Cordoba. They've got a great old-timey logo, and this is such a cool thing for Spokane to do. And in a place that is so tied to coffee culture as well, maybe not as much as you might think of with Seattle being in the same state, but very cool for Spokane. I honestly, the new Peoria identity, I love. And I know that it is kind of a similar look to their current logo with Homer, the dog. But I'll be honest, Peoria and El Rio was not one of my favorites of the initial run of Copa logos. And I think this one is so good, not just with the logo and how it ties into the team identity, but the name Perros Bomberos, I think, is fantastic with the way it flows. The logo's great. The color scheme is great. I love that Homer is chomping on a fire axe, and the blade of the axe is actually on fire. That one to me is that's a home run. There's a lot of really, really good ones that come out this year. Sometimes, and we've talked with teams in the past about if you don't feel like your first Copa identity has hit the way that you want to, sometimes you go back to the drawing board, and it's not easy. I feel like on that second turn through to find something that really sticks. But I think these teams have done it. The ones that have rebranded for this year, it's a really good selection of some new identities.
Yeah, and we'll see how it plays in Peoria.
You
know what? That wasn't a joke I was thinking of. I just was literally started to talk, but I've always liked that expression, how it plays in Peoria. I mean, it was a Groucho Marx who said that, or
I believe
somebody.
That was a Marx Brothers thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's a good quote. Peoria is a stand-in for a average American city. So, you might think you have good material in your cosmopolitan big city, but let's go see how this plays in Peoria.
Yeah,
buddy.
Sam.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Speaking of these hoity-toity big city performers, not all of us can be dancing in Times Square, Sam. All right. Well, let's continue along the road of alternate identities. You can read, by the way, Ben's story about all the new Copa identities at MILB.com. Ben, Wichita came out with an alternate identity for the 2024 season. And I am intrigued because this is something that I thought maybe, well, first I want you to explain it. I thought that this was something that was very Nebraska centric, but this is now something that I'm learning that maybe is a little bit more widespread across the Midwest. Tell us about the Wichita Chili Buns.
Yeah, this is a strange one. I think strange in the food item that it actually is, and also this is not one that I had an inkling was coming. And then when the Wichita wind surge announced it, there's not much information in the press release. So, and even on social media, they started off with, if you know, you know. And I was like, well, no, I don't know what a chili bun is.
What
Can
if
you
I
guys tell
don't
me? Yeah, can you tell me here? So we're gonna have to get them on the podcast next month because they are playing as the Chili Buns on April 19th and April 20th. And a chili bun is essentially just that. It is a cinnamon bun thrown on top of a bowl of chili. A Midwest staple? I don't know. I don't want to speak for the whole Midwest, but known throughout the Midwest, at least in portions of it. And I read an article yesterday after the wind surge announced it, and there wasn't too much information about it. I found a link to in the Smithsonian magazine that was talking about how there's speculation how this came to be, eating a cinnamon bun thrown on top of a bowl of chili. And I think part of it was, just early laborers and earlier times of American history, just trying to have the heartiest meal possible. A lot of American food does go back to just, when you're eating after a long day of physical labor, something us podcasting layabouts don't really know anything about. You just want something like really, really hearty. And there was another thing talking about how when there came to be specific requirements on school lunch menus, how this somehow, even though it seems very unhealthy, met various categories at the same time. I don't know. Or maybe it's that Americans, and particularly in the Midwest, people just love a good, hearty, sweet and savory mix. And that is a chili bun. So I want to find out more about it. I want to find out about its place in Wichita specifically. I want to hear from other people who have knowledge of this. Again, in my very cursory research yesterday, and Tyler, you mentioned Nebraska. Nebraska is home to the fast food chain Runza's, and we learned about, and Runza is also a standalone food item, a little meat stuffed pastry type item that I first learned about because the Omaha Storm Chasers did that. But the fast food chain Runza's apparently has chili buns on the menu. So
yeah, during the winter, that's a big thing at Runza's. You can go order chili. See, and now this is where I need to dive more into this, and we need to hear a little bit more in depth from Wichita, because as I understand it, in Nebraska, they go together, but it's not, you don't throw the cinnamon bun into the chili. But as the logo depicts for Wichita, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, it's right on top.
Yeah, it's right on top. So is that like kind of an alternate method of consuming that? I don't know. I do remember when I first went to Nebraska and learned about this, I was like, is this a thing? This is something that people do. But even I was listening to a college football podcast recently, and the once and future king of all of my emotional well-being, Matt Rule, the head football coach of the University of Nebraska, he was talking about it also. He said, I didn't know about it before I came out here, and it's amazing. You got to try it. Chili with a cinnamon roll. So I don't know. What for you dudes, a couple of East Coast guys, what is your companion bread stuff with chili? Because for me, it's cornbread.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I mean, I can't really eat most cornbread anymore.
Right.
Poor, sad, celiac me. But when I think of a bowl of chili, if it's accompanied by something like that, it'd be a piece of.
That was a pandemic staple, actually, in my house. Was just make a big pot of chili. That's a good. Have that thing last you and make a couple of cornbreads and throw it in there. But that's the way I go. I don't know if that's a Northeast thing or generic American thing, but
we made slow cooker bison chili along with cornbread, and today I'm gonna have the last of the leftovers, and I'm like preemptively depressed that it's gonna be gone because it's the best chili I've ever made. But yeah, and it's, let me make no bones about it, the cinnamon roll edition is amazing, but it did make me think the first time that I ate it, like, is this shortening my lifespan? Like, I can't imagine that the cornbread is that much healthier, but having a cinnamon roll alongside of a bowl of chili did make me question some of my life choices.
Yeah, and what doesn't shorten your lifespan? I mean, just the time it took me to say that sentence shortened my lifespan. I'm that much closer to death.
It's a countdown. Every breath is a countdown.
Oh no.
On that existential note, we talked last week about some of the promos at the AAA level that Ben is most excited for in 2024. And now we move to AA. Ben has been rolling through some of the top promos to keep an eye out for in the Ben's Biz Beat newsletter, which you too can subscribe to at MILB.com. Ben, take us through the second highest level of the minors.
Yeah, double A, the penultimate level, as some say, the Eastern, Southern, and Texas leagues. And when I was putting this together, I really realized that most of the promos I was picking are from the Eastern League. Is it the best double A league for promotions? I might say so, but I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But I do think there's a lot of great teams in that circuit. And we have a guest today, or our guests today are from the Portland Sea Dogs. So it's an Eastern League kind of show. But anyway, I picked one double A promo a month for the entire season in April, back to Altoona, home of the recently unveiled Peces Dorados goldfish. Hope I'm saying that right. But April 13th, they're doing a Paul Skeens bobble, stash, and head giveaway. So not only does his head bobble, but the mustache itself bobbles. And I'm sure Sam, coming back from Spring Breakout, a lot of Paul Skeens talk over there. I mean, there's a lot of excitement for that guy. I think people want to get their hands on a bobble stash. And
I think any
bobblehead.
Paul Skeens bobblehead would do tremendously, but the fact that they're leaning into the stash part of that is very cool and very interesting to me. And, I think about that LSU team. For some reason, Dylan Cruz also has a pretty prominent mustache now, and he also had a little bit of a mullet. So Nats affiliates, take note. We'll see if that mullet comes back. He was kind of whispering about it in spring. He did cut his hair since getting drafted, but I love leaning into what makes your prospect unique beyond just, an 102 mile an hour fastball and a 70 grade slider.
Yeah, well, having a giveaway with two different bobbling appendages is one way to make somebody unique, and the Curve are doing that. April 13th, coming hot out of the gate with a premier giveaway item. In May, the Akron Rubber Ducks, and this is the kind of promo I love because I just love learning things, whether it be chili buns or anything else, just about American culture and history. But the Akron Rubber Ducks are doing a salute to Sojourner Truth on May 18th with a mini statue giveaway of Sojourner Truth. And that is because Truth, an abolitionist activist, gave the speech that she is best known for, which came to be titled "Ain't I a Woman?" She gave that at a Unitarian Universalist church in Akron, and now the city is putting the finishing touches on a Sojourner Truth legacy plaza in the city of Akron. And so the Akron Rubber Ducks are getting in on that and the excitement over that addition to the city by giving away a Sojourner Truth statue. Just the kind of thing. If you didn't know the history there, it's like, wait, a minor league team is giving away a statue of a 19th century activist, but it all makes sense in context, as these things often do. And I just thought that was a really cool one. We've mentioned it before. June, Binghamton Rumble Ponies playing as the Creatures, hometown of Rod Serling, and the Creatures is a reference to the episode Nightmare at 20,000 feet, where there was a creature or gremlin on the plane. July 10th in Richmond, the Flying Squirrels. There's nothing really to say about this except for what it is. It's National Hot Dog Day, and they're giving away a hot dog scented candle on National Hot Dog Day. So breaking new ground on the giveaway front there.
Does it also smell like condiments? Like, can you get it?
Just the hot dog smell?
That's a good question. It just says hot dog scented candle. I don't know if it also smells like ketchup and mustard or anything like that. And
just like the good grill smell that comes off. My favorite part
that would be good.
Is the smell when you blow the candle out. That's my favorite smell. But yeah, so I feel like if you have a grilling smell before that, well, it would just make me hungry. But I think that's a good. I would take that candle.
Yeah, and it's National Hot Dog Day. It is not National Scented Candle Day, which is November 1st. So that's in the off season. So any teams wanting to do a National Scented Candle Day promo.
What if you gave out a hot dog made out of scented candles on that day?
No. You're going to have somebody eat it, and there's going to be lawsuits all over the place.
It's not the same thing.
Funny story.
It would be a funny story.
Yeah. Finally, we'll move to the Texas League real quick. August 24th, Springfield Cardinals. That's Springfield, Missouri in the Texas League. A John Goodman bobblehead. John Goodman is from Missouri. He went to Missouri State, and he's a big fan of the St. Louis Cardinals, and he's a fan of the Springfield Cardinals. He's been at their games before. He represents them wearing a Springfield Cardinals hat, so I think it's pretty cool. I imagine you guys agree, but John Goodman just has to be one of the most likable actors out there. Everybody knows who he is. Anytime he's
John Goodman.
What's that?
I said, what a treasure, John Goodman.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
100%.
Point out anything John Goodman has done and been like, not on board with John Goodman because of that. Well, I mean, you can't say that about anyone in the 21st century, but John, I just like, what a body of work, that guy.
Yeah, and anything he's in, he elevates it. Even if you might not like the actual movie or TV show,
Yeah.
it's still better for him having been in it. So when I saw that, I was like, John Goodman. Yeah, National Treasure is a great way to describe John Goodman. And then September 15th in Kodak, Tennessee, Smoky Stadium, the home of the Tennessee Smokies, they're having their final game at that ballpark. The team will be moving back to Knoxville, which is only 20 some miles away. That's where the franchise was located through 1999, but the last, 25 years or so, I guess that'd be 24 years, they played at Smoky Stadium in Kodak, which is real close to Pigeon Forge and big tourist area, Dollywood, all that. But they're going back to Knoxville proper. So attend the final game at Smoky Stadium if you can, September 15th. You'll get a final game ball or last game ball, commemorative baseball, and saying bye to that ballpark, one of a couple that are probably playing their final games in 2024. So always something to keep an eye on. So that's just 6 fairly randomly chosen AA promos. And I'll be back with more because this is what I do, for better or for worse.
And you can get it all in the Ben's Biz Beat, which you can, of course, subscribe to at milb.com. And we are going to stay in AA on this week's episode of the show. Before the show, we're going to head to Portland. Ben, tee up, for my money, maybe our most enjoyable interview ever.
Yeah, as we say in the intro, it's the first full family interview on the show before the show. Emma Tiedemann, director of broadcasting for the Portland Sea Dogs, along with her husband, the director of ticketing, Jesse Scaglion, and their newborn daughter, Lucy Ruth. And we'll talk to them about family life in the world of minor league baseball.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Today on the Show Before the Show podcast, we are pleased to welcome, I think for the first time in podcast history, not just a single guest, but a family. We are talking to an entire family on the podcast. Emma Tiedemann, the director of broadcasting for the Portland Sea Dogs. Her husband, Jesse Scaglion, director of ticketing.
Operations, ticket
Ticketing
sales.
operations, sales, tickets. And their newborn daughter, Lucy Ruth. She is happy to be on the podcast. Her first podcast as well, I hope. I mean, she might have been on before.
Her first. We saved the exclusive for you guys.
Excellent.
Is
And
this one
an
of the baby
exclusive.
book? I just want to, is this
100%.
one of the entries now in like a modern day baby book is like first podcast interview, and you're like,
Mhm.
March 20th.
It was actually paid for it. So it's good. We're checking a box.
Well, truly, a podcasting first for many right now, and we obviously want to get into the specifics of being a husband and wife team who works in minor league baseball, who are juggling now having a newborn baby to deal with, on top of the craziness of a minor league baseball season as it is already. But first, let's go back. Emma, you've been broadcasting for a decade now in one form or another in baseball, starting with the Matsu Miners in the Summer Collegiate League in Alaska, Medford Rogues, St. Paul Saints, Lexington Legends, and then the Portland Sea Dogs, who you joined in March 2020, a great time to be hired by anyone, especially a minor league baseball team. But what was it that brought you to Portland in the first place? I mean, obviously a job opening, but you talk about your path to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I think with Portland, it was always on really every broadcaster's radar just because of the organization as its, organization and the way that it's known and how it treats its employees, its fans, and everything like that, especially their broadcasters. And so when I saw the job open, actually was with Jesse, and I said, looks like Mike Antonellis is leaving. Should I apply for the Sea Dogs? And Jesse basically forced me to my computer to make me apply. He was like, yes, you absolutely should. I thought that I there would be too many applicants. So I was a little intimidated. I was like, I'm probably not going to get it. But, it was nice to have a partner push me to do it. And a couple interviews later, I did start around March 17th of 2020. My first day, we were sent home to work from home for the foreseeable future. But, the Sea Dogs really lived up to that. The way that they treat their employees is top notch. They kept us all on, kept all the full-time employees, paid all the game day employees as if they would have worked that season. And I knew that I had ended up in the right place. So we finally had baseball in 2021. 2020 was a little odd, but we finally made it. And here we are in Portland.
Yeah, and Jesse, you joined the Sea Dogs the following year, but you had been with the Lexington Legends before that. Don't want to assume anything, but I assume you two met in Lexington. How did you get to know each other?
We did. We met at the Legends in 2018, after our longtime broadcaster had retired, Keith Elkins, and Emma came in and was hired by the group. And we clicked in the office. And, there's probably a good amount of couples in minor league baseball now. From just, you spend a lot of time in the ballpark with someone, you get to know them really well. And for Emma, it was, it clicked very quickly and it very fortunately worked out.
Yeah. And then Emma got the job with the Sea Dogs first. Did you then focus in on the Sea Dogs specifically, or did you look for other jobs that might not be with the Sea Dogs? How did that work to bring you back together in a front office?
So we did long distance. We were still dating at the time when Emma got up here to Portland, and I had been in Binghamton before Lexington, so I knew about the pedigree of Portland. Was really excited for her. And at the time, coming out of COVID, our ownership group owned the now Dirty Birds and the Legends in the Atlantic League, so I was part of the transition team and doing all that. And was driving between Portland, Maine, Charleston, West Virginia, and Lexington, Kentucky, which is like a really quick, 16 hours in the car every couple of weeks, which is just so much fun. I was very fortunate they would let me come back up to Maine and work remotely sometimes. And in that time, I knew I didn't really want to stay in Kentucky doing that anymore, and was looking at other positions, contemplating leaving the business, which is obviously not easy to do. And I was very fortunate that a job opened up here, and some of the other folks in the office kind of pushed me towards going back to ticketing where I started. And the organization here is so amazing that they interviewed me. They actually told Emma they would tell me no if she didn't want me to work here. And so she wouldn't have to be the bad guy, which was great. And I think I interviewed on a Friday, got offered on a Monday, started Tuesday morning. So it was a very quick turn.
Yeah. What has your guys' transition been like to Portland in general? Putting aside 2020, but just what is it about that city, the organization? I know you guys talked about it before. They take care of their employees really well, but being not very far from Fenway Park, there is some, Red Sox Nation up there as well. What has it been like, just establishing your roots there and obviously starting a family in that Portland region?
Well, I think for me, I was just hooked on the people, and the people up in Maine. They're really some of the most genuine, nicest people. And they love their state. They love their town of Portland. And the fact that they do come out in droves for Sea Dogs games. They love baseball. And, I think it's funny, they know all the top prospects. They know all the players that have come through Hadlock Field. They are just dedicated baseball fans. And sometimes it feels like, the promotions are kind of, second to the baseball, which is interesting. And I think in a minor league baseball stadium, but they do love it. They love their Red Sox baseball. Jesse loves the Red Sox also. So it was an easy click coming from Manhattan, New York, being the diehard Yankees fan he is. So it was a bit more difficult of a transition for Jesse, having to deal with all the Red Sox nation stuff. But I think it's just the people, the fact that they love the Sea Dogs and they love coming out here and supporting us.
I love the Sea Dogs fans. As a
very diplomatic of you, Jesse. That's
as growing up in Manhattan as a diehard Yankee fan, I never thought I'd be in this situation, right? So it's been a transition. But for me, I think, and for both of us, and what kind of we love about having a family here is Portland is awesome. I mean, it is a great city. The surrounding cities and towns in Maine, everyone is so nice. There's a great food scene, culture, art scene. Everything is growing here. It is. It's closer to New York for me, so family is close by and friends and things of that nature. It's 5-hour drive to the city, but just being able to have that kind of Northeast city life with the outdoor life that we become accustomed to, and being able to have a little bit of nature and then be around a ballpark, like Emma said, where the fans are just obsessed with your team and they come out and they are angry. That most fan bases don't know when their team wins and loses in minor league baseball. Our fans do. Our fans are into it. They call, they want to talk about prospects, which is for me is really fun. They want to talk about the Red Sox. They want to talk about, they know I'm a Yankee fan, so that makes it really interesting for us. And the past ownership group was so nice to welcome us in, and then now Diamond Baseball's been great with that too. So it was really a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's super nice that you guys have been embraced in that way, and having seen it from an external side too. I mean, it's been nice to see you guys be a real part of that community. I'm also just curious. I know you said, like there are more minor league couples than ever in front offices because you're just around each other for so long. But how do you guys approach that? Do you guys keep work at work? Do you not? I mean, Jesse, you're wearing a Portland hoodie right now. It's clear you don't leave that behind in the office. But how do you guys kind of separate church and state in that way?
I don't know if we really do.
We don't.
Yeah, maybe you don't. I mean, that's totally fine too. Like,
you know what it is? We work in such different departments, and obviously, in minor league baseball, you have small front offices typically, and there really is no division, right? But like our jobs are so different that we definitely bring it home and talk about it. And I try to go on the road with Emma sometimes, so there's obviously that connection too, and doing it. But we pretty much, that's just kind of, we started dating in the baseball life, so it's all we really know is being in this industry together and going through it. And I think it's really great for me because Emma can give different perspective on things that she sees when she's on the road to other cities or, on social media, talking to friends. It just kind of helps make the job a little easier, but also we know what each other's going through. So at the end of the day, we understand we're coming home to, if someone has a bad day, they get it completely. They understand. If someone's burnt out in the middle of July, we get it, right? We're able to kind of fill that for each other and help provide solutions in that sense. So it's worked out really well for us so far. We're 4 or 5 years into it, and we haven't had any issues with it so far.
Yeah, just I think whenever the Patriots come to town, if Jesse can't catch enough of the game, he's like, "Hey, how did Spencer Jones do at the plate tonight? I didn't catch his third at bat."
Home run,
yeah. So yeah, we'll decompress with the business side of things, but then also talk about the game that night because at the end of the day, we're both just huge baseball fans and want to talk about the crazy game of that night too. So it's a good balance of everything.
All right. Well, Emma, you have been a trailblazing broadcaster already in many facets in your career. I've tried to poach you for international baseball stuff at some point, which I'm going to, I want you to know, at some point for at least an event here or there. But you kind of get to break this new barrier where you are going to be a working mother, not just to a child, but to a newborn in the broadcasting community, which is incredible. And across minor league baseball has not happened a whole lot. What does that feel like? I mean, approaching a season is stressful in every way. Approaching it with a newborn has got to be a completely different world. How do you wrap your mind around kind of where you are a couple of weeks out from the start of the season? Obviously, it's not as though you're just going to jump in and work 90-hour weeks from now through September. But what does that feel like right now at this stage?
I would say intimidating, overwhelming, all of the emotions that in normal, after you just had a baby, the hormones bring you, which is super fun. But I think, we knew it was coming. So we've kind of, talked a lot about our plan and our schedule. But it's, kind of tough thinking about when I do come back of, well, we do have our longer work weeks, so that could be, anywhere from 50 to 60 to 70 hours. And then on top of that, I'll be gone for a week at a time with the team. So missing quite a bit of her life really early on. So I think, we've talked about it of, I'm taking every second of my maternity leave so I can really soak up every moment I can with her. And then, having the ability for Jesse to come on the road for a few series once I'm back and he goes on his paternity leave with Lucy and just kind of keeping her around. So it's tough to still think about the fact that I do have to leave her eventually because I've loved, seeing her grow these last couple of weeks. But, it's something that I think that in a few years, when she's at most of the Eastern League ballparks, if not a lot of minor league ballparks in general, we'll look back and think, hey, that's a pretty cool way to start your life is going to all these ballparks.
What was it like the first, few months of knowing, hey, we're gonna be welcoming a baby in the next several months? I mean, you're still in season at that point, right? So what was that like to be going through the early stages of a pregnancy while still juggling the rigors of a minor league baseball broadcasting position, which really does not have much, if any, downtime?
It was interesting. In full minor league fashion, I did find out that I was pregnant in Manchester, New Hampshire. I just had a feeling.
As everyone does.
Yeah,
obviously.
just was like, I have some time to kill. Let me run to Walgreens real quick, pick up some pregnancy tests and see how this goes. And so I found out, I called Jesse, and then I had to hang up because I was like, I have to go to the field. So I was kind of walking around in shock. That was 4th of July weekend. And then had to come back here to Portland and just kind of wrap my mind around everything, and then start buying copious amounts of ginger ale because I had really bad morning sickness. And I was still trying to kind of, play everything close to the vest as you do kind of early on in pregnancies and stuff. We weren't ready to tell people. But, slowly I couldn't hide it anymore, not physically. It was more of, I was having really bad pregnancy brain. And it started to affect my broadcasts. And so my great assistant, Riley, was kind of noticing that I was a little bit different on the air. And so it finally got to a point I had to tell her. She's like, well, I'm glad you're pregnant and not something actually wrong with you, because I was a little worried.
Was there like a moment where she was like,
Yes.
are you okay? Was there like one specific moment?
There was. We're at home, and we had just gotten back from a road trip to Bowie, and Riley was doing play-by-play, I was doing color. I forgot who came in. It was a relief pitcher for Portland, and I was looking at his stats for Bowie. He had a really good outing. And I was looking at it, waiting for Riley to finish the play, and I was going to say, oh, he tossed 2 shutout innings with 3 strikeouts or something. All that came out was Bowie. And Riley, I could see her out of the corner of my eye, just look at me and just be like, are you okay?
That's a very important element of who was pitching.
Yeah.
Like
it was, that is the only word that came out of that whole thing. And so it was, I think the next day I was like, I gotta tell her. Like,
I was sitting in my office during the game, like doing a report, and I heard it and had that moment of like, oh no. Did I just hear that right? And one of my associates kind of looked at me and was like, did she just say Bowie?
Did she say Bowie and then stop talking?
Just stop talking.
Yeah. Also, a moment ago when you were like, oh, it was the most minor league fashion ever, I found out. And I was going to make the joke, it was probably 4th of July weekend. It was 4th of July. Like, you're not on a homestand, which I guess is kind of nice, but that is the most chaotic weekend. And that was when you found, that really is the most classic minor league baseball thing that could have ever happened. Unless it was like, oh, we had a 9 a.m. school kids day game, and I found out that morning on the way to the ballpark. Like, that is amazing.
Yeah. It was just very, the whole situation was really, it was really centered around minor league baseball, because on top of that, we went to Richmond, and I was pregnant, and I called my mom, and I was like, oh man, Richmond's really hot, and I feel really nauseous. Like, I might actually puke today at the ballpark. And she's like, well, it's funny enough, I was at that ballpark pregnant with you, seeing a Richmond minor league game. So it was a cool, like, full circle moment once I, kept the vomit down, and I was able to appreciate the moment of, a full circle. We've come so far with my mom being pregnant with me in Richmond, and then me with Lucy. So that was a cool moment, but also nauseating at the same time.
Now, Emma, Tyler mentioned, I think accurately, that in the minor leagues, well, we can't think of a precedent for this, at least from a broadcasting perspective, being a new mother at the same time. But have you, reached out to others, or had others reach out to you, maybe not within the world of minor league baseball, or is there anyone you've drawn inspiration from in terms of, how to achieve, this very, challenging balance of new motherhood and the baseball season at the same time?
I mean, Jenny Kavnar does it with 2 kids, and, she's now the voice of the A's. So obviously she's a huge inspiration. Take away the kid and the motherhood thing. But I think, like, it's now extra special for me to see a mom of 2 young kids achieve that. So I know it's possible. But I think a lot of women in the industry and outside of it, they've actually kind of reached out and saying, thank you for kind of posting a little bit about it, and posting that you're still broadcasting, because it's showing that we can do it too. And I didn't realize that would be kind of I think, sorry, Lucy's making all these noises over here.
It's
kind
her
of like
first podcast appearance. We need to hear from her. She started.
She's got thoughts.
I have a question for Lucy. We're gonna get
come
to
on,
her.
Lucy.
But just kind of showing that, we do have these crazy jobs, crazy hours and stuff, but it's kind of cool when you can show off that you can do it while pregnant, and kind of take your little baby along for the ride too, and have these interesting stories to share.
I think it was when Jenny had her first child. She was in Cincinnati with the Rockies. We went to go see her, and her husband had the baby strapped to his chest and had 2 beers in his hand and was standing on the concourse. And I thought to myself, this is going to be me one day, and I can't wait. And as
I can do this. I can do that.
Our first trip is to Hartford this year, and I'm gonna. Oh man,
He's got the baby Bjorn ready to go. He is all set.
That's good scouting, is what that is. I love that. Well, I got to ask, Lucy Ruth. That's a pretty baseball-y name.
It really is.
There's Ruth in there. Jesse, you being the Yankees, is there any connection there, or where's
I want to say yes, but it's not. It's Emma's middle name. It's a family name.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about the Babe Ruth connection until after she was born, and people were like, "Nice, you got a Babe Ruth reference in there." And I was like, what? Oh, I want to name her Yogi, but that's not. I don't know.
We'll save it for the next one. I was thinking Adolis Garcia for the Rangers, but we'll see.
It's going to be a big problem for me. My favorite player of all time, Butch Husky. This is going to be a real challenge. Figure out a name. I hope somebody out there is just like they've figured out how to maneuver Butch Husky into a name.
I love it.
Butch is great. You can bring it back.
Yeah, we can bring back Butch. All right. Well, Lucy, we got to ask you. This is your first minor league baseball podcast. We will ask you, do you have the best parents in minor league baseball?
Yes.
Wow, she speaks so well.
That was her first word.
Yeah, she just gave a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
That's incredible. She is giving a little thumbs up right now.
There we go.
Yeah.
She's also like half asleep. So this is what I would do to Sam if I was around him and he asked me a question. I'd just be like,
thumbs up.
This is just par for the course. She's like a podcasting vet at this point.
Exactly.
Emma, I do want to ask you, when I said a minute ago, I said, you've already been a trailblazer in your career. You did kind of blanch at that. Is it uncomfortable still sometimes talking about it? I mean, I know, over the course of your career, you've already accomplished so much and you're such a good broadcaster that just on its own merits, people are tuning into Portland Sea Dogs games because they want to hear you. Does it get old sometimes talking about like X, Y, and Z when it's things that you've accomplished, but also like you're good at what you do and you want to be known for being good at what you do just because of that? What does that dynamic feel like?
Yeah, I think I'm still getting used to it, and it's kind of weird to say that considering how long I've been doing this and have had that kind of attached to my name. But I'm still, a person that just wants to broadcast and to be the best broadcaster, not the best. Oh, she's good for a female broadcaster. She's half decent. No, I want to be a great broadcaster of all genders. So I think it's still getting used to, and it's I don't know. Jesse can maybe talk about it more because he knows me better. But I think it's still just me getting used to it and me just wanting to go out and just broadcast, but also having that title kind of attached to me. I know there's extra weight to it, especially now having a daughter of my own. I kind of wear it with a little bit more pride these days. Whenever I have my coffee and can actually summon the energy to do it. I think it's still me getting used to it. I am proud of it, but still it's weird to have that attached to me and hear that attached to my name still.
Yeah, I think Emma definitely sometimes just wants to be a broadcaster. It doesn't matter, female, male, whatever. Just like, I want to go in the booth, I want to put a headset on, I want to watch baseball, I want to talk about it, and that's it. And I know I've seen the struggle in real time of like, I want to promote this for women, I want to bring up the next generation of women and all this, but also like sometimes I just want to go in my room and watch my TV by myself type thing and do it. And Emma's done such a great job of trying to help, mentor the next generation of female broadcasters, bring more awareness to it, bring more into the sport. I mean, now, there's so few of them in it, and we're fortunate in Portland to have 2 of them here, which is amazing. And, there's some other great ones out there doing it. And I think it's one of those things where I have to remind her sometimes, like, this is important. You have to keep pushing yourself on this. It's not just about you. And she's done a great job handling all that.
All right, you guys, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you one question. You are, as the Portland connection for the podcast, you are the closest ambassadors that we have to our reclusive minor league baseball outpost, and the man who mans it for us, Josh Jackson, who I know you deal with on probably too regular of a basis.
Indoor.
Jesse, I know
you endure
it. What'd you say?
You endure Josh Jackson more than
that is the good way
anybody
to put
else in minor league baseball.
Put up with Josh Jackson.
We love Josh.
Please expound on being like, you're our first line of defense from Josh Jackson physically into the minor league landscape, because I believe he is now located north of you.
Yeah.
Give us what's that been like dealing with Josh?
I mean, we have to give him a lot of Sea Dog biscuits. That really is his big requirement. Which you know, what of everything else that he could ask of us, I feel like it's pretty easy. So we just go to the walk-in and be like, "All right, go on, Josh, go to your seat now."
Push him out.
You've
to
already
sea a
been
little bit,
practicing
just-
parenting. You got it down.
Exactly.
Exactly. Now we just use pacifiers instead of Sea Dog biscuits. But so far, you know, I think that the Sea Dog biscuits have kept him at bay.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to go south anytime soon, but we'll let you know if he ventures this way.
I was gonna say, please keep us informed. You're our eyes on this situation.
Yeah, implant a tracking device if you can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure.
So Emma, as you are enjoying the maternity leave and trying to, you know, soak in as much as you can before the craziness of the season, do you still find yourself sometimes narrating or doing play-by-play as a parent with Lucy, or Jesse? Do you add color commentary? Is that kind of thing seep into your parenting style at this point?
Yeah, I mean, you should have heard my play-by-play of the blowout 2 days ago. That was real worthy. Might put it on my SoundCloud later. Who knows? But yeah, you know, you know, they tell you to like narrate everything for newborns to help their vocabulary. So it's just, I mean, she's had to listen to me do, you know, countless baseball games and basketball games for play-by-play. So I would hope her vocabulary is pretty decent. But yeah, I'll just walk around and say, okay, now this is the dog. The dog is red. And today at 1 o'clock, we'll watch some more spring training baseball and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're just now narrating our day-to-day lives, which is, you know, just blowouts, diapers, and naps.
Which is how it was before. So
Yeah.
And
Yeah, she's
again,
gonna grow up with a strange
is with
knowledge of
Josh
the animal
Jackson
kingdom, learning about sea dogs and yard goats and fisher cats, and what's a
Yeah.
base sock?
Rumble ponies.
flying squirrels.
Flying squirrel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gonna be a strange bit of zoology there. But anyhow, Emma Tiedemann, Jesse Scaglion, Lucy Ruth, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast, our first family interview. And we're really looking forward to hearing Emma on the airways this season and wishing you the best with what will surely be a memorable 2024 Portland Sea Dogs baseball season.
Thanks, guys.
Feeling unproductive because of bad sleep? Better Sleep's customizable soundscapes soothe you to sleep like never before. Whether you like a gently flowing river, prefer the crackle of a campfire, or want a mix, you can create a sound just for you. And if stress and anxiety keep you awake, our guided meditations help you unwind for a restful sleep.
And welcome to this SOS De-Stress Guidance.
Join over 65 million users and download Better Sleep today.
Let's go from talking about the rigors of the season for maybe the most unique family situation in minor league baseball, to some of the guys who are going to be playing on the fields covered by people like Emma Tiedemann here in the 2024 minor league baseball season. And we're going to kick things off talking about the first ever all spring breakout teams announced by MLB Pipeline. 30 players from 18 organizations, the all spring breakout team, reflecting the top performers from the first ever edition of spring breakout games across major league and minor league complexes in the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League. Sam, give us the highlights. Obviously a very fun initiative that we're going to see continue to grow, presumably over the next several years. But give us a rundown of what stood out from some of the talent that we saw in spring breakout.
Yeah, I think the first thing that stands out to me is that we had 3 guys who hit 2 home runs in this type of environment. I mean, the whole point of this event is to showcase the next generation of talent. And we can write about these guys' scouting reports all we want. We can tell you these guys are really good power hitters. We can show you the stats, but it's better when fans get to see this for themselves. So the fact that Jace Young, the third base prospect for the Detroit Tigers, number 60 overall prospect on our top 100, he went deep twice. I got to call that game with a friend of the show before the show, Dan Hasty, West Michigan broadcaster. That was super fun. We actually got to get Jackson Jobe, who's the top pitching prospect in the Detroit system, to react to Jace Young homering, which is pretty neat. I mean, it was cool to see him impressed by the way that Young went deep to right. Obviously these guys are around each other all the time, and yet to still be taken aback like he was pretty cool. But Young was not the only guy to go deep twice in a breakout game. Spencer Jones, who we've talked about before on this show, just a massive human being, draws Aaron Judge comps just because of his size, but swings the bat really hard. There's a lot of thump in there. He went deep twice for the Yankees in their game against the Blue Jays. They won that one 9-1. The 2 home runs, one to right center, one to left center, combined 826 feet. One was 107 miles an hour exit velocity. The second one was 109 miles an hour exit velocity. He also showed off some pretty good sprint speed as well, 29.8 feet per second. If you average 30 feet per second, that's elite. So the fact that he's close to that at his size is really, really good. I know a lot of Yankees fans are super excited about what Spencer Jones could potentially bring them maybe as early as this year. We'll see. He's probably going to start out at AA. But yeah, Spencer Jones living up to his scouting report. And this one I really enjoyed as well was Xavier Isaac, who we had on this show just last week. So go back and listen to that interview. But we had him on the show to talk about what his development has been like at first base, but he unfortunately wasn't able to play first base for the Tampa Bay Rays in their game against the Twins because he was coming off a twisted left ankle. They let him hit earlier in the week. Seemed like everything was going in the right direction. So at least he got to DH in the prospect showcase, went 3 for 3, homered twice, hit a double, also walked, did everything a DH needs to do. I mean, Xavier Isaac, he has a big arrow up pointed next to his name, given the way he finished last year at High A Bowling Green. As we talked about with him on the show, he was a little bit of a forgotten prospect in the draft and shocked a lot of people when the Rays took him in the first round, but he's the best first base prospect in baseball right now, number 58 overall on the top 100 because of his ability to hit. And that came through in spades. And, speaking of that left ankle, you gave a great quote about it afterwards, basically saying like, hey, they wanted me to hit. They didn't want me to run. Well, when you hit homers, you don't have to run. that certainly helps things. If only it was that easy for everybody, but it certainly was that easy for Xavier Isaac in his game against the Twins. So really enjoyed his performance there. The name that will, I think, stick out to most people on the all spring breakout team was Paul Skeens. He only pitched 1 inning against the Orioles, but was very much the pitcher we all saw out of him last year at LSU and a little bit in the Pirate system after he went first overall in the 2023 draft. Topped out at 101.7 miles per hour. Showed his wicked good slider, showed a really good changeup as well. Got Jackson Holliday to whiff on that. I don't know, like Paul Skeens, you were hoping he would come in, throw hard, but showed the secondaries as well. And he was spotting the ball really nicely. There were only maybe 1 or 2 pitches I feel like he didn't command as well as he could have, which is saying something because I'm sure he had a little bit of adrenaline coming in this game, knowing he was only going 1 inning. And to get that battle against Holliday was really, really neat. And Jackson Holliday himself said afterwards, it felt like Paul Skeens was throwing 110. And you look at like the spring that Jackson Holliday's had, it's been a really good spring.
Yeah.
He's really likely, as we sit here now on Wednesday when we're recording, it feels really likely he's going to win the second base job out of camp. I mean, Jackson Holliday has seen velocity. He knows how to handle it. He's faced Paul Skeens before, and to be taken aback in the way that he was is indicative of just of how good a pitching prospect Paul Skeens really is. Some other guys like Jacob Mizorowski pitched pretty well for the Brewers. He issued 3 walks, but he also struck out 5 in 2 2/3 innings. He was up to 98 miles an hour with his fastball, showed some really good secondaries. That's exactly what we want to see out of Mizorowski. I would like him to control it better, but so that's a little bit concerning. But this was such a fun event to be a part of. I was at 3 different games over the weekend, wrapping up on Sunday with Cardinals Astros. That game ended 1-0 in 7 innings, but that game featured Joshua Baez, the number 30 prospect in the Cardinals system, hitting a 455-foot home run, according to StatCast. He didn't know until I told him that it was 455, which was kind of astonishing to me. He knew he got all of it, but the fact that it went that far, it was longer than any homer hit in the Florida State League last season. And that is where Joshua Baez played his entire 2023 campaign. So these guys have tools. We know that they play, but to play on this stage was really neat. This was just the start of spring breakout. Hopefully it's going to become a bigger event moving forward. Everybody kind of understands how it works now. Jackson Jobe didn't get to pitch in that game because they didn't line him up the right way. And it's going to be tough to get all the best pitchers in these games, obviously, because they're gearing up for the season. They have different throw days and all that. But to get the pitchers that we did, to get the hitters to perform like we did, it was really, really neat to see this across the board. So yeah, we have all spring breakout teams, but there's full coverage of every game by MLB.com beat writers, by MLB pipeline writers. We have, one standout for each team on the site as well. Keep them peeled at MLB.com/pipeline. And, let us know too. Like, please reach out to me on Twitter or on X, as I guess we're still calling it. Let me know what you want to see out of this event moving forward. I mean, all feedback on this stuff is good. I'm not exactly in meetings on this, but we can pass along this stuff. The bigger interest this has, the better. And this is just the start. So fun start to spring breakout for sure.
All right, Sam, well, from the prospect perspective, we have a fun start to the 2024 regular season in Major League Baseball as well. The San Diego Padres and Los Angeles Dodgers, of course, kicking off the season at the Gocheok Sky Dome in Seoul, in South Korea. And I mean, not something that a month ago I would have pinpointed as the solution to the Padres center field situation. But the Padres end up going with a guy who we're very familiar with in prospect land, the number 12 overall prospect in all of baseball, Jackson Merrill, as their opening day center fielder. Jackson Merrill, their number 2 prospect overall behind Ethan Salas, but a guy who is a shortstop prospect. He has all of 5 career games in the outfield in his, albeit brief, professional career, drafted in 2021 in the first round, makes his big league debut as a center fielder. We know AJ Preller, the Padres president of baseball operations, very aggressive, wanting to get this talent to the big leagues. But man, this is not how I think most people saw this going for Jackson Merrill. Goes out 0 for 3 in his major league debut, but playing an entirely new position in a venue that he may never play in ever again after this week. Talk about a unique way to kick off your big league career and a really interesting move from the Padres, Sam.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you mentioned he was 0 for 3 and that you would like to get your first hit out of the way in the first game. All 3 of his batted balls were above 95 miles an hour in terms of exit velocity. So his hard hit rate right now in a very small sample is 100%. And that's great for Jackson Merrill, because I think the big thing for him is like, how is the power going to play? It's something that we expect to come along eventually. And he could get to 20 homers as he gets deeper into his 20s. He's still technically 20 years old as we sit here now. He's turning 21 soon, but it hasn't happened yet. But the barrel control, the bat speed, the ability to protect the plate. I mean, he only struck out 12.1% of the time last year between high A Fort Wayne and double A San Antonio. And it was actually smaller. It was 11.8% when he moved up to the Texas League midseason. So the guy makes a lot of contact. It's finding that power. That's going to be a question mark, at least at the start of his career. But the good thing about bringing him up now, he doesn't need to be that number 3 hitter that he could be someday for the Padres. They've got Manny Machado, they got Xander Bogaerts, they've got Jake Cronenworth, they've got, all these options, Fernando Tatis Jr. They have, the top of the lineup is pretty well set. They just need Merrill, and he batted 9th in his debut, so there wasn't much pressure going on there. Just get on base ahead of these guys. Like, it's okay if you just get singles to start out, because that's a duck on the pond for some of these bigger boppers. So hitting the ball hard like he did in his debut, that's a promising start. The hits will fall if you continue to hit the ball 95 plus. Defensively, yes, there are going to be some growing pains. It's going to take a while for him to get used to center field. I found it interesting that he's talked about this spring. He actually preferred playing in center to playing in the corners. The corners, you usually see some side spin on the ball, and it can be a little bit more difficult to read. I remember he played left field in his spring training debut this year, and there were some reads out there that were a little bit more difficult. In center, you get more backspin on the ball. The ball is a little bit truer. It's not slicing away from you in the same way. So he doesn't need to be this type of burner out there necessarily, because Fernando Tatis Jr. is a platinum glove winner in right field. He's going to cover a lot of ground in that right center to right field foul line gap. Merrill just has to read the ball well, make the plays, make the throws, doesn't need to be a Gold Glove winner right away. He'll get that experience and be able to make those reads as he gets more experience. I think it's an interesting decision. A lot has been made this spring about how the Padres lineup right now is very heavy on former shortstops. Xander Bogaerts moving over to second base is pretty telling. Fernando Tatis Jr. has moved to right field when he came up as a shortstop. Jake Cronenworth used to be a shortstop. Now he's at first base. Jurickson Profar used to be a shortstop when he was the number 1 overall prospect back. So they've taken these really athletic types and moved them around, and now Jackson Merrill's that latest type to do that. Is he going to be like a rookie of the year candidate straight out of the gate? I don't necessarily think that's going to come just because he is so young, and the power needs to kind of come along. But hey, the Padres, like you said, Tyler, they like getting aggressive with their top talents. We saw it a few years ago when Tatis came up. CJ Abrams came up when he was only 21 years old before he got traded in the Juan Soto deal. Ethan Salas reached Double-A last year at 17. Leo Dallas DeVries is only just signed in January, and he's already stateside. When they know they have a really good talent, they push them as hard as they can. And Merrill's that latest example now, and they're going to need him. Like, let's be honest, this is not just giving a young kid a chance. Like the Padres, they've traded Juan Soto in the offseason. They need as many bats as they can get a hold of. Merrill, being a rookie, he's a cheap option, but he's somebody who will be there for the long term, and they're hopeful that the development will continue at the major league level and they can reap the rewards moving forward.
Interesting stuff to kick off this 2024 season. And with that, we will step aside. Josh Jackson stops by with the Ghost of the Minors, and then we're back to wrap it up. Coming up next.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Minors. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Minors, in which all of you out there in Radio Land must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once piled up some hits in pro ball. The others were never even missed. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. Alan Virile. B. Joe Bronny. C. Ken Strong. No feeble-minded doll are you if you pick C. Ken Strong. What's this? Ken Strong was a star of the gridiron and not the diamond, you say? Partial credit. That's not wrong, but it's not strong either. Ken Strong is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well as the College Football Hall of Fame, but he flexed in the minors, showing considerable pop across 3 seasons before making it huge with football's New York Giants. Strong's accomplishments with the pigskin being well documented, the sheer magnitude of his Giants run towering over all else popularly remembered about him will relegate our discussion of Ken to our Ken, minor league baseball. Like any stalwart American, Strong seems to have loved baseball more, and going back longer, than he loved football. In fact, when he was 14 years old, he served as bat boy for the Detroit Tigers during an exhibition game in Strong's native Connecticut. I remember that Cobb made a home run inside the park, Strong later recalled to the Sporting News. He had to hustle for it. After that, he left the game and took it easy on the bench. A little bit of Cobbian restraint might have done Strong strongly. Those same Detroit Tigers purchased Strong's big league rights from the Yankees, who'd signed him out of NYU in 1929 before the 1932 season. But by then, Strong had already gone too hard on one unfortunate occasion. In 1931, the 24-year-old outfielder was playing for the International League's Toronto club at Buffalo in the Maple Leafs' first night game of the year, when he chased a fly ball into the wall and busted up his wrist. Strong though he was, the injury kept him out for 6 weeks, and when he returned, he never felt quite right. He underwent off-season surgery and hoped to shove his way onto the Tigers' opening day roster of 32, but the wrist was very slow to recover, and it proved to be the end of his baseball career. Evidently, the surgeon who'd operated on the wrist had removed the wrong bone. No muscle power can overcome a thing like that. Ken had a strong case against his doctor, but was ultimately strong-armed by the judicial system, and his own strong arm became a weak arm. He successfully sued the surgeon, but lost on appeal. He had, however, already demonstrated his appeal as a baseball player. During his second pro season on June 8, 1930, Strong muscled up on the ball 4 times to collect 4 jacks in a single game for the Hazleton Mountaineers of the New York Penn League, and his 37 additional homers that year secured him the league title in the category. Strong huddled up with the giants of pro football in 33, his wrist issue having kept him from throwing a baseball well, but having allowed him to conduct the duties of a fullback. And that's how Ken Strong's days on the diamond atrophied. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these teams really knew how to work it in the minors of yesteryear? A, the Wichita Jobbers. B, the Tulsa Clock Punchers. C, the Saginaw Shift Pullers. Want to know the answer? Apply yourself. Or tune into the next Goes to the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is challenging me to a shadowboxing match, and I've got to hit him where he ain't.
Big thanks to Josh Jackson for stopping by the show before the show, as always, confined to his compound north of Portland, Maine, thanks to the constant vigilance of the folks at the Portland Sea Dogs and everyone else. MILB.com is where you can go to find all of the latest news about minor league baseball. You can also check out our work at MLB Pipeline. Before we get out of here, though, we kind of turn the tables this week because our player of the week question comes from none other than Samuel C. Dykstra.
Yeah, so this one comes because I was in spring training for over 2 weeks. And I saw somebody, I didn't get to say hi. He was doing a lot of different things at spring training. But I saw this person in Florida, and it just made me think about him. And he's somebody who's been around the minor leagues for a long time. So Ben was
Steve Jolts.
No, we're not going to start the guessing game just yet.
I'm just going to guess like the 90,000 guys who have played minor league baseball.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to do my own Ben impression this week with our guess the minor league player. And I will, let's just kind of start here. He got his career started in 1996. He was a 36th round pick of the St. Louis Cardinals out of Texas Tech University. He is not from this country.
Oh, interesting. An international collegiate draft pick.
Yes, he went to Texas Tech.
Interesting.
Was drafted out of Texas Tech. So in some ways, my other hint is that even if he hadn't gone to Texas Tech, he would have been eligible to be drafted. So keep that in mind.
He would have?
He would have been eligible to have been drafted.
And if it was 1996, that would have been before Puerto Rico was under the MLB draft umbrella. So he must be Canadian.
That is good job. Good deduction by you, Tyler. All right. So he started in 1996. Like many Cardinals prospects, he opened in Johnson City of the Appalachian League, which was a rookie level affiliate at the time. Then he went to Prince William in the Carolina League, which was a high A affiliate, the Prince William Cannons.
Yeah, they became Potomac and now Fredericksburg.
He had a 922 OPS for Prince William in that 1997 season, spent the entire year with them. 1998, the Arkansas Travelers, spent the entire season with them. Then was with Memphis in 1999, 2000, 2001, and 2002. He debuted for the Cardinals in 2001, played 23 games for them. Didn't last very long, but he did get in a decent amount of time, 23 games, like I said. 2003, went to the Toronto system, 2003 went to the Brave system, spent the entire year with AAA Richmond, And then 2004 went to the Blue Jays, so back closer to home, and split the year between New Hampshire and Syracuse. Now, that's not great hints. I can't imagine you guys are racking your brain right now for Cardinals minor league legends of the 90s.
No, I thought Stubby Clapp, but he was
Ben?
a little...
Stubby Clapp.
Oh, it is Stubby Clapp.
Wow, nice work, Ben.
I thought that just because I thought like Memphis and
Impressive.
minor league legends. And he came up when I was talking with some other coworkers after I did that little story on AAA legends that was inspired by Razor Shine's night in Indianapolis. And I was talking to some other coworkers like, who else do we got? And somebody said Stubby Clapp. So when Sam said Memphis several years in Memphis, I thought like that's just the only name that came to mind. But I didn't think it would actually be Stubby Clapp.
That was probably a little too easy. I was going to get into his managerial career. He did manage Memphis for 2 years.
Yeah.
He also spent some time in the lower levels before that. But yeah, 6 seasons at AAA, 559 games played, had a 747 OPS, 25 homers, 33 stolen bases over those 559 games. Stubby Clapp now on the Cardinals major league staff.
Yeah.
So I saw him working with a lot of their infielders over there at spring training. It was just nice to see him. I know I've talked to him plenty because those Memphis teams that he managed were really, really good. They made the AAA national championship. In his first time managing Memphis in 2017, they won 91 games. In 2018, they won 83 games. So at AAA, he has a career win-loss percentage of .619. Which is really, really good. And a reason why he's now on the major league staff and has been there for a while. So yes, Stubby Clapp, AAA Memphis legend, is our, I guess, the player of the week.
Yeah, and he was known in kind of like an Ozzie Smith style way for doing like backflips on the field. And I believe the Redbirds might have even given away like a Stubby Clapp, like backflip bobblehead or something of that nature. I could be wrong about it. Yep,
No, there it is.
Sam pulled it up.
That is terrific.
In 2017, here's the Stubby Clapp backflip bobblehead, which is him. His head is basically on the pedestal here, and he is doing a backflip. Yeah, they gave it out Friday, July 14th, 2017, to the first 1,500 fans. I'm sure we can find that on eBay if we really wanted to track it down.
I've discovered that pretty much every bobblehead ever given away in the history of sports is on eBay.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm Googling for a bobblehead image that I may need, it's the first results are eBay listings almost always. Sam's looking it up right now. I'm going to guess you can get this for about $70.
Well, this is a different one. This is not the backflip bobblehead. But a Stubby Clapp bobblehead could be yours on eBay right now for $70 plus $8.99 shipping.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's not even flipping, man.
I just want to point out, a couple of things, all from Stubby Clapp's Wikipedia page, so you know that it's all accurate. That nickname not just applied to Stubby Clapp. He is actually, and I am not making this up, he is Stubby Clapp III. That nickname originally applied to his grandfather. So Stubby Clapp, the one that we know, his full name is Richard Keith Clapp. His grandfather, David Ezra Oscar Clapp, was known by Stubby. Then his son, so our Stubby Clapp's father, known as Keith Ezra Clapp, he was known as Stubby II or Stubby II. So our Stubby Clapp actually inherited that nickname. And in true, incredible Canadian fashion, his Wikipedia page starts with mostly his hockey background. It says, in his youth, Stubby Clapp could be considered a two-sport athlete, having distinguished himself through the Windsor minor hockey system. And then it goes into his baseball career after that. But it kicks off like, man, he was really good with the Windsor Bulldogs back in the early 90s before getting into like, oh, by the way, he also played Major League Baseball.
And he comes from a long line of Stubbies. Who knew?
Yeah, that's a new thing. And I think you mentioned Razor Shines also. I think Stubby Clapp was part of the early years of Miners Moniker Madness back in the Wild West days of MILB.com. Didn't we have like a Stubby Clapp region? I know we had the Razor Shines region because the trophy for the Miners Moniker Madness champion was the wonderful, terrific Mons III trophy, another name that was passed down through the ages.
Yeah, we might have had a Stubby Clapp region. It sounds like that. But yeah, we did the first Miners Moniker Madness in like 2006 or 7 and early days of MILB.com, and no one knew what they're doing, but it was a lot of fun. There was actually a player then in the first Miners Moniker Madness whose name was Jorge. Should I even say this? No, I won't even get into it.
You can see the wheels turning in Ben's head.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is not worth it. But it was a name that was questionable, and we shouldn't have had it in the contest probably, because if it had won, it would have been really embarrassing. And I'm not even sure if it was a real player. Anyway, it was all a long time ago.
This is for our Patreon subscribers.
Yeah. This is for the After Dark segment.
All right, you guys, we'll wrap up this week's episode of the show before the show. Join us next week when Bruce Springsteen stops by. For Benjamin Hill, Sam Dykstra, and all the rest, my name is Tyler Mon, and we will catch you next week.
Old Man Winter here. If I had it my way, it would stay winter all year long. Short days, wind chill, black ice, and a good polar vortex. Oh, heaven! Wait, is it getting warm in here?
Your cold snap is over, Old Man Winter. Spring has arrived.
Spring.
Spring is here, which means it's the perfect time to get away in the Hyundai you've always wanted. Visit the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, where you can get great deals on all of our award-winning Hyundai models, like the tech-filled Tucson and Kona, as well as the spacious Palisade. Enjoy wherever you go with the peace of mind that comes with America's best warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. But hurry in, these deals won't last. Add more joy to your journey at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Now get 0% APR or up to $1,500 bonus cash on the Hyundai Tucson. Now during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Offers end soon. Call 562-314-4603 for details.